The episode you're about to hear is authorised by me, Kate Hulett, at 106 High Street Mall, Fremantle.
The data shows that we are just getting hammered. And then the same thing, they'll fund hundreds of thousands of dollars into our major political parties, and then our political parties become these spokespeople for them and say, we care about you, your working class people, we care about your living standards. Just don't look over here while we give everything to them that we should be giving to you.
Yes.
Hello everyone, this is A Piece of Kate. I'm Emma Pegram.
And this is Kate Hulett. Do I have to say this is authorised by Kate
No,
Hulett?
we've already got that bit.
Okay, just checking.
Can't
be too safe with the AEC, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. We are recording on Thursday night.
Whoa.
That's just the sound of our producer cracking a tinny.
If you want some good production support. Thursday night. Late night shopping.
Yeah. And, last day of the week because it's a long weekend. Mm-hmm. Of course, the campaign stops for no man.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you.
And to you too.
Listener. Wait. Anyway. Now, onto the meat. Leaders' debate last night. That's what we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I'm with you.
Half a can of
I had a taste
Amaro
of alcohol
tonic.
and
Do we get money for product placement?
No, don't say the word.
Oh, okay.
There was a leaders' debate last night. I was too busy being at the Twilight Markets
In Bibra Lake.
in BL, and that's what we call it. And so I missed it. Desperately, sadly, I missed the debate.
Oh, you were sad about
this
that.
This time it was on ABC rather than Sky, so it was watchable by more of the population. But what I've heard is no one struck any blows, despite the clangers. You know?
Yes. Well,
I
too did not watch it. I'm not going to lie to the people. Yeah.
Because we're radically honest. Yeah, on
we
a piece
are,
of cake.
and I would love to know how many people in Fremantle did tune in.
Or the country.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that how you're going to choose how you vote, watching that?
I think the reality is that most people are not expecting to hear anything they haven't heard before. Like, they're not going to get up there and start all of a sudden being,
that's a good point.
really honest,
This seems like a nice
insightful, ambitious leaders. They're just going to, stay on message and deliver the confident persona that they think people want to see.
And they've both been obviously in politics for a very, very long time. They know each other. They're very well media trained. They know their lines, and they don't really deviate from those. The weirdest part was that the leader of the Liberal Party was unable to kind of say anything about climate change in a definitive way. It was quite peculiar, skirting around the topic.
In my home state, you made reference to floods and natural disasters events. We were out in Thargomindah the other day. That has been a part of the history of our state, of this country, and
Is it getting worse, though? Is it getting worse?
Well, I'll leave others to.
What do you think? You're a Queenslander?
Well, I'll let scientists and others pass that judgment. But
really? You're not willing to say this is climate change happening right now?
Well, as the Prime Minister refused to do the other day to make comment in this regard as well, I don't know, David, because I'm not a scientist and I can't tell you whether the temperature has risen in Thargomindah as a result of climate change or that the water levels are up in Thargomindah's latest flood as a result of climate change. And I think the honest answer for most people is that they don't know.
I call it a clanger, but it's insanity.
I mean, is it a clanger if it's intentional? It's clearly
Who's he talking to, though? I mean, there's so few people that really don't believe in climate change. Like, you can maybe look at it from different angles, but the science is the science.
Yeah.
It's not kind of guesswork and hearsay.
Well,
it's, like, measurable.
Didn't you think it was so interesting that his actual line was, when asked, will you admit that climate change is, or the impacts of climate change are worsening, that his line was, I think, I'll leave that to the experts to be the judge. I'll leave that up to the scientists to judge.
I'm not a scientist.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure the scientists have judged that.
Yeah.
And in
I'm
fact,
sure you probably have the best scientists in the world advising you.
Yeah. or not.
Yeah, or they're advising you and your ears are paved.
Trying to advise you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I often think how actually devastating that would be if you've dedicated your life to
Science.
researching this and the scientific method and gathering evidence and being definitive and, doing absolutely, watertight testing. And then going, not quite sure. It's not like horoscopes,
No offence to the astrologists.
That's not astrology.
Whoa.
We're in the shop today, listeners, and Thursday night is Speedway night. Anchortail Road. Is that where they are?
Something like that. I mean, what a show.
Yeah.
It actually is worth pointing out, I thought earlier,
Okay.
that we did first week of the pod from your home, second week from the campaign office, third week from your shop. We haven't really said that explicitly, but it's quite nice. I wonder where next week will be.
Currently sitting in a tree. So if you're watching, there's movement around me, which is distracting. The leaves won't leave me alone.
Wow. That was gorgeous.
Yeah,
that was
thanks.
definitely the reel for the episode.
Real.
Speaking of climate and people who can and cannot say things about climate, you went and spoke to your old friend John Butler today about gas.
We did talk about farts as a joke, but
Of course.
not that kind of gas.
You're not going to go and talk about gas
Exactly.
and not make a few, hilarious jokes.
Yeah. He and the Australia Institute produced recently a really fantastic ad with a production house also based in Fremantle, Berlin Creative, and it was on the TV and, really good ad. And so we just wanted to talk to him about that and what he knows and how he kind of got into the gas industry.
Well, yeah. No.
And-
People might have seen the campaign around Big Gas is taking the piss.
Big Gas takes 73% of WA's gas for free. That's just taking the piss. It's time Parliament acts.
Yeah.
Billboards everywhere,
Yeah.
ad on TV, ad on socials.
It's good. It's very kind of ordinary human language. It's, frank and honest. And you also might have known John Butler was part of the fracking. He is part of the fracking, kind of anti-fracking
Campaign.
lobby group. And he's been working on that for many years. Anyway, so we went to talk to him about it. And it was interesting because he's talking about it in a really, maths and figures and spreadsheet kind of way.
As
And-
you'd expect for a musician.
A hippie musician.
From Freo.
Yeah, no, he's not a hippie. A man dragging a trolley went past and it had a piece of paper sticky taped on it that said, "Let's dance."
I'm in the mood for that
Very
tonight.
distracting.
I mean,
Okay.
here we are talking about gas, but really we just want to
Let's
dance.
dance.
Should we play some of your interview with John?
Yes.
for
Rather
the
than
for
me
the
trying
listeners?
to describe it.
Let's listen to the
if
gorgeous
there's
man
a bit
himself.
when I'm frantically moving my arm off screen, it's not sexual. I'm patting a dog. I'm just patting a dog, but you can't see if it looks quite weird. Okay.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, we're lucky we're going to roll the interview now. We'll be back.
I got involved in the whole gas fiasco, I guess almost 15 years ago now, when they wanted to build the largest gas refinery in the Southern Hemisphere on the coast of the Kimberley Coast, a place called Wamadan or James Price Point. And so that's when I first got involved and came across companies like Woodside, who are local, who were just willing to kind of trash basically sacred sites. I'm talking like people's churches and cemeteries to build this earth-baking monolith on the most pristine kind of coast. So that's when I kind of got involved, and that's when they kind of came on my radar. And then it's been fracking for the last 15 years. And then, I guess with the expansion of the Burrup Hub, and also just 20 years of watching a pretty bought out, entrenched government, you start, once you have 20 years of watching the math is really important. And you know, what I was seeing was basically a narrative which was like, we don't have enough gas, we're helping you transition, we're on the path to renewables, we care about communities. That was what was coming out of the mouth. What was happening on the ground was they were just systematic non-tax-paying entities. I mean, the ATO has officially said that the gas sector is systematic non-taxpayers. So,
and as a musician, as a small business owner, that is the most, like, knowing how much we have to pay just to survive in our industries, and then to think of that, not only are they systematic non-payers, but they're also kind of desecrating this ancient, precious site for no good for anyone.
And I think what always gets me involved in a lot of these things is, you know, yes, I love the environment and, you know, I love nature and all those things, but what kind of overrides those feelings is people just lying to innocent people, taking advantage of innocent people. And that's one thing. I think it's another thing saying, I'm helping you, and then shanking you while they're looking at you. I mean, that to me is like, we've all been raised to not hang around those people. We've all been raised to stop those people, and when those people infiltrate your government, and then convince like good, hardworking people that, you know, they're helping them out while they're absolutely having them. That it always gets me. So I guess that was the kind of impetus for like the taking the piss out.
And once you start paying attention, then you'd go, what? And you look and go, hey, so they didn't pay any tax, and then so we're subsidising it. Okay, and then they're exporting. Okay, so and it just
we have a we have a housing crisis. We have a price of living crisis at the moment. We have all these promises going on over here about what we need. We're going to complain about welcome to country and how many millions that takes, but yet, I mean, the real facts. The real facts here is like 52.6 billion in between 2020 and 2021 came out of this country via gas. Exxon, Shell, Mobil, and Woodside collectively made $52 billion, and they paid less than $1.7 billion in tax. Now, you and I, we pay roughly around 35 to 47% tax. I pay 47% tax, and I need to, and I should, because I make a decent living. 47% tax, okay. You probably like around 30, 35 maybe. Now, that's your average worker is paying that tax, 35%. What that equates to, 1.5 billion compared to 55 made, is 2.7% tax. So you got these massively rich companies.
Imagine if we were paying 2% tax. I mean, there is not a soul alive
2.7% tax
that says, that's fine, fair enough, good on them. They deserve it. It's not, it's so wild.
It's so wild. And meanwhile, just white ending our government to the point where no one believes in democracy, and then baking the joint for our great-grandchildren and our grandchildren. To me, it doesn't get more sinister.
Yeah, you're right.
And for me, I guess what's the biggest thing is, it's so hard not to take personally, because I know these companies have the best accountants.
Totally.
I know they have access to the best lawyers.
Ad agencies.
But they also have the best scientists. They have all these things, you know, and so they know what they're doing. And if you know what you're doing and you're doing that,
it's sinister.
It's
it really
sinister. It's, I mean, and I don't have to be an ideologue to think that. I'll just do some math, and I'll watch what you say, but I'm gonna watch what you do, and what they're doing to what they're saying are completely polar opposites.
And you walk through an airport and it says like Woodside powering Western Australia, and like all this like we're supporting the arts, or we'll pay for the nippers and all this stuff. It's like, look how good we are, and you're so right. It's like they're polishing, but underneath it's dog shit.
And it's
That's
like
nice.
it's something.
Sorry, I brought the tone down there.
That's all right. It's totally fine. That is it. It's parasitic in nature, and it's something straight out of a Hollywood flick, like a really bad Hollywood flick. Because I think if you told anybody, I mean anyone in the political spectrum, and I honestly believe this, like if you gave them the math that somebody made $55 billion and then paid only $1.5 billion in tax, which equates to 2.7, percent tax on our earning, you'd be like, excuse me?
It's like we're a tax haven or something. It's like
we're an official tax haven.
Yeah. But worse than that, we're also subsidising them by paving their roads and putting the infrastructure in order for them to make all those billions.
Yeah.
So we're paying, without the tax that we pay, the proper amount of tax we pay is helping them rort our tax system.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to go. It's kind of like going, hey, I don't really need a broken window when you break into my house. So here's the key.
Exactly.
I've made a coffee for you. I'm going to step out because this could be a bit too confrontational for us. But there's a lot here to take.
I've also left the keys in the ignition so you can just pop all the stuff that you take in the car. And
when things get blurry, culturally blurry, politically blurry, I look to math. I look to science because I just know science and math don't really care what your opinion is. They don't care what your religion, your race, your color, your gender is. They're just like, show me the data. And the data shows that we are just getting hammered. And then the same thing, they'll fund hundreds of thousands of dollars into our major political parties, and then our political parties become these spokespeople for them and say, we care about you, your working class people, we care about your living standards. Just don't look over here while we give everything to them that we should be giving to you.
That you used the term infiltration before, and I think that is exactly what it feels like there. That those ideas are infiltrating the politics, and then they say we're going to protect nature, but then they're like digging up the planet over there, and that is so much. That just completely cancels out all the batteries and the this and the that. It's like it doesn't matter if you're still doing that stuff. And ideologically, as you say, it kind of doesn't matter if you love the environment or not. It's the facts of the matter is it's shit.
It does not make sense.
No.
It's completely illogical, and it's a classic definition of insanity. It's like if you keep on doing the same thing and expect different results, that is the definition. Like our behavior is not at all conducive to what we're trying to do. And that's why, I got up early this morning and did my hair so I could speak to you, because I want average, normal people who have just common sense to infiltrate what I'm seeing is a bought out scene of mainly like entitled, privileged people who honestly don't seem to really care about us anymore. I want people who go, hey, maybe I don't understand everything about everything. Give me some facts and I'll give you an average, ordinary citizen's opinion on it. And that's like why I want you and people like you in. Because I think like it's been infiltrated. We've been white-anted. We've been completely, it's been the most beautiful, like if I was to give them any kind of credit, and I often do, I really respect the absolute bloodless, peaceful, and almost inane coup d'etat that has happened in our country. We have absolutely...
It's been done perfectly.
It's been done
Executed perfectly.
Yeah, and meanwhile, they fund the dockers and they fund our little nippers, and we're like, oh God, these guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing that for us.
It is crazy making, and it is. I think it feels like any country would be pissing themselves laughing at how pathetic we're being.
Yeah.
And not putting our foot down and going,
Yeah.
nah, no more. But no one's going to do that in our government currently. There's not a soul that is going to say, in the major parties, no more.
No.
Or we're taxing you properly and no more.
No, they're completely afraid. But there's also there's a couple of reasons, for that, which you would know is, you got hundreds of thousands of dollars of lobbying and funding. Well, probably millions of dollars of lobbying going on. Hundreds of thousands of dollars being donated. There's more lobbyists in Canberra than there are politicians. What we're also seeing in real time, I'm not making this up, it's not, once again, it's not an ideologue, it's the fact there's a revolving door from politics to the resource company. We see it all the time, whether it's McGowan or Scott Morrison. It's like, so they're always they're always kind of like, there's always some kind of deal going
Yeah,
on.
totally.
And if it's the closest thing to corruption we have, you know.
Yeah, and it's so surprising to me that more people aren't fucking furious about it and raging about it. Because you think the Liberals who are economists, you know, good for the economy and about money, and they should be the angriest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting. I always think about the word conservative. You know, it comes from conserve. You know, I'm a conservationist. You know, so
Yeah,
I have a lot in
How
common.
you want to conserve the money?
Yeah. But you know, at the end of the day, you go back to the base word. It's like, why aren't you conserving? Like that's part of your headspace. I want your working class Liberal voter and your working class Greenie or Labour voter. I want us to all see that actually we're all on the same side. This is not. It's not about flying our flags at the moment. This has gotten down to a moral issue as well as an environmental and an economic one. It's a moral issue right now. We're dealing with people who honestly don't seem to care about Australian citizens. They don't seem to care about life in Australia and ordinary, regular families. It's like, yeah, don't take the piss. Don't, no, man. No, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and I hold that with great pride, and I'm a little bit confounded why we're not arcing up a little bit more.
Me too.
And heartbroken that we're arcing up against each other while the billionaires laugh out of town. That's probably the most heartbreaking thing, is that good people that should be on the same side, that care about the children just as much as each other, are fighting each other, while the people who actually don't care about our children and actually don't care about our homes and don't care about our land and our culture and our communities are there laughing at us.
And rubbing their hands together with glee.
Yeah.
Because we're fighting in the dirt about a flag or gender.
Or about who my dad voted for.
exactly.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
you paid 2.7% tax
Yeah.
on your
They should be in
$55.6 billion. Billion. And that was between 20 and 21.
Yeah. Wow. They should be.
Just 1 year.
I mean, it is actually criminal. It's criminal.
It's criminal.
And our government is permitting it.
Yeah. They're
And
complicit.
enabling it, encouraging it almost.
No, complicit.
Yeah.
Like they're enabling it,
Yeah.
encouraging it, complicit, funding it, rolling out the
Yeah.
red carpet. And also, as they're rolling out the red carpet, if there's anybody in the way, whether it's average citizens, indigenous crew, endangered animals, the future of life on this planet, just kick it down.
Yeah. Not important.
Yeah, like I'm never gonna bow down to
So
a
you'd say you're
bully
quite
like
passionate
that.
about this.
It's just, how can you not be, like, how can you not take it personally?
I know, that's the
It's
thing.
just so
If you pay attention,
rude.
it's very personal, but it's personal to us collectively, all of
Yeah.
us, every one of us. We've just
Yeah.
got to pay attention.
Yeah.
And you're right, we need people to know that this is happening, because then they'll be angry as well.
Yeah.
And then we can make a change. We can make better decisions.
That's right. That's why we need people like you in there actually bringing the voice of the community in to the scrum, which seems to have their eye on a completely different ball. And it's not Australia.
No,
It's something else.
And it might not be a ball. It might just be,
Maybe they just want to go to Mars. Maybe they're all just thinking about
Katy
Mars.
Perry.
Yeah.
He says so much good stuff.
Yeah.
in there. I was
know.
trying to like think of things to pull out, but there's so many good lines and so much just true sentiment that it's hard to even reflect on.
And it's really straight and factual, and it's like, imagine if we got to pay 2.7% tax. How cool would that be?
Yeah.
But as if.
I mean, that one thing does jump out at me when he uses that. It's criminal, you know, like as a, obviously speaking metaphorically, because of course we know a big part of the problem is that it's not criminal. It's, you know, there are loopholes that exist that could be closed and aren't, that enable that that practice of sending profits offshore in order to avoid returning more to
that's what we said. It's
Australian
like,
purse.
how did we become a tax haven for those businesses? And also that we just have this revolving door of lobbyists into government officials into the gas industry and the fossil fuels, and then it's just like, it's like a yucky, I want to say snake that's eating itself, but it's like, I don't know what it is.
It's not even. It's like a snake running off with the bag or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Snakes can't
I don't
run.
know.
So.
They're not running and they don't carry
Famously, no
bags. They've got
legs.
no arms. So, yeah, I guess we're nailing that. A metaphor.
And the other part that resonated with me a lot was him talking about like the Australian character, and
Totally, yeah.
I think clearly it affects him, and it makes me sad as well when I see, you know, average people pitted against each other and kind of forgetting, or not forgetting, but I suppose like in many ways, you know, we're being ripped off, we're being kind of exploited in a way, and we're also busy and just trying to get through life that we don't have time or, you know, energy to like have our defences up all the time, have our critical thinking on all the time. And as a result, we end up turning against each other when we all have each other's best interests in mind, and actually the people sort of preying on us don't. And yeah, that upsets me. I don't know, maybe my background, like having, you know, come from a small town and like being very in touch with like a small community, I reflect on that a lot, about how that like sense of mateship and community that I always like sort of grew up with, as being so intrinsic to Australian culture,
and you're
is
very
being undermined.
You can detect people's situations because you're so frequently in contact with them and you can see them, but now we have that less. And as you were speaking then, I was thinking about maybe when I was little, my dad was, you know, always kind of rebelling against the mainstream in a way, but he would say, you know, they want you to be on the freeway every day in traffic for an hour, they want you to pay for parking, they want you to be in the same building from 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, they want you to be locked into a mortgage, because all of those things are the way that you're not paying attention. You know, you're kind of distracted at trying to make enough money to pay the mortgage and pay the fuel that you've got to pay because you're living so far out of town, you've got to drive for an hour to get in, you know, like all that stuff. So you're distracted from paying attention and seeing your neighbours and having that mateship. But there is, you know, it is an Australian thing to not want to be taken the piss out of, you know, and it's like we kind of rally against the bully.
I mean, even though we constantly take the piss out of each other.
Yeah, but in a kind of like, you know, that, you know, like we'll stand up against the bully. But then with this, it's almost like it's so far gone, and we're embarrassed that we haven't stood up to the bully and all. So it's just like we've now been also taught to think, you know, you can't walk through a single airport in Australia and there aren't billboards that say powering the nature would say, you know, keeping our economy going, and you want renewables, this is how we're going to get there. Fossil fuels. And it's like, and is that just like a brain worm that's just feeding on our...
like John's saying, they're rolling out the red carpet and getting rid of anything that's in the way, and that includes manufacturing consent, you know, like the amount of money that the big gas companies spend on marketing to consumers that are not buying their product. You know, you and me, everyday people. We're not buying a product from Woodside, and yet we're constantly
there was a great
their advertising
quote. Maybe we talked about this with Tim Winton, who was saying, you know, it's this is the signs of a dying industry is when they're spending so many hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising to promote themselves for a product that we are not, you know, actually just going to the shops to buy. It's pretty interesting, but it's really great that John's talking about it openly. People like the Australia Institute are able to lay it out in a way that not a single person would go, oh, that's awesome that they're only paying 2% tax and all that money's going offshore. That's cool for us. You know, that doesn't make sense for not a single person, no matter your political interests. Maybe if you're Gina Rinehart or Clive Palmer, everyone else is like, yeah, that's pretty fucking annoying. But it's great, you know, and if he can amplify that message and we can talk about it and then get it kind of in the, you know, at the pubs, people just chatting about it, then it makes it less normal and okay. And then we start voting differently, and then the politicians are like, okay,
maybe we should do something.
Maybe we should start thinking about charging them tax, because this isn't a flipping tax haven, you know?
Totally. Speaking of people talking, you also went and did some street talk today with some crew in, I want to say Coburn. Were you in Coburn?
Oh, all over.
All over.
Sick of the too much talk,
Lots of talking.
and then
Not
they
much
should be
hearing.
listened.
Yeah.
Anthony Albanese, he's a Prime Minister of country. He should be walk with no bodyguard, no one. Just coming to the workers, and he will find out what's going on to people's life. Than sitting behind the TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
how
In a
you
day.
come,
Yeah.
how you come on with the second language. You know, you have attention to my concern. That is we expecting from our own
All the
people
politicians.
protecting. Yes,
We need to make Liberal and Labor do better for us.
of course,
Yeah.
of course. Now, obviously, I'm a Labour supporter, but I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. Shouldn't be this much. We worry, anxious with the mortgage, with the expenses. We need to. They always just politically they blame on each other. But what about innocent kids? What about innocent citizen? Or senior citizen? We need the caring for all elderly.
One thing was interesting that, and it made me think of that when just watching John's thing. You know, like everyone cares about their kids, and the way we approach things like the environment are different. You know, every single one of them was like, we've got to think about the future, but they might have not have been saying that we've got to think about the future because, you know, there might be floods and fires and air pollution, but they're thinking about it, you know, and talking about it in different ways. And I think we've talked about that before, coming at, you know, the issues in the world, which are all really interconnected, but they're kind of accessing them in different ways. But it was really, I mean, it's my jam talking to people. And so often, you know, we're reflecting on the kind of influence of Trump and social media and headlines on how people think. And a lot of people were talking in kind of headlines. And actually, when you then had two more sentences with them, it wasn't really how they, you know, the headline might have been a bit like, whoa, okay, that's shocking. But then when you drill down, it wasn't shocking at all, and it completely made sense of the circumstances. And they were full of love and, you know, care and concern for everyone. You know, they were all talking really collectively about, like, this isn't right, and the two major parties are, I mean, I was absolutely not planting these sentences, but people were saying the two major parties are indistinguishable. And I talked to a guy that came as a refugee on a boat and lived in detention for a year with his child, didn't speak English, and someone from Persia. You know, like, it was really a broad spectrum of conversation. One lady, I was like, what do you know, there's an election coming up. She was like, I don't do politics. And then she proceeded to say the most political and astute kind of full of, like, love for humanity stuff. And I was like, well, you should be running for a politician.
PM.
She was like, I almost said that before. But it's so, I mean, I love it. It's so reassuring and lovely, and people are very generous with their time and they really care. You know, there was very few people that were like, I don't care for politics, or I don't pay attention.
I mean, it's sad to me that people like this woman who actually care about things so much that their first instinct is to be like, oh, politics, I can't, because it's
pretty
so
interesting.
depressing and it's so tiring and exhausting that it's all so shit, and that all the leaders are so uninspiring and et cetera, that people just disengage when actually they've got a lot to offer and they care about things and they want things to be better. So thank God for you, you know.
It's interesting to say, you know, to try and say what's the biggest issue for you at the moment, and then say, like, what do you talk about with your friends, or if you go out, what's the things you moan about the most, or what do you think, you know, and then you can see people thinking, oh yeah, I guess that is political, you know, the stuff, and many of the people we spoke to were thinking about their kids and housing and how absolutely impossible it was. You know, some of them had younger children, like 10 and 12, and we were like, all right, well, I guess they better start saving now for a deposit. Imagine how much the houses are going to cost when they're, you know, one guy we were talking to was painting tables and chairs outside, and he said his kids are in their early 20s, no hope in hell. You know, one guy said he and his wife both work full-time. He actually had 2 jobs, so he was working 6 days a week and in the evenings, and he said, I just don't know how people would pay for life on a single wage. It just seems completely impossible. And that's just real people going about their days, getting their groceries, and they're just really, really feeling it, and they really care. And I think, the option of alternate leadership. I mean, people were literally saying we need more voice, we need more normal people, we need people to listen to us and represent us. It was almost like they were scripted, but I absolutely promise you they were not.
I believe you.
And yeah, I mean, and also really interesting, some of the stuff came up, like gun ownership, or lots of people talked about immigration. Someone talked about keep the sheep. You know, it was a real spectrum of feedback. And, you know, what's the major thing that you think about? And one lady just looked at me and was like, climate change. Like she was like, obviously, it's everything. And then she said, I got to go. And then off she went, and I was like, job done, I'm out of here. Yeah, it was nice. It was really good.
Amazing.
I guess, you know, we talked about the debate the other day, and the people that come to that room to watch people talk are all pretty engaged in politics. Like, they really care and they already know who they're voting for and all that sort of stuff. Whereas just going to the local Woolworths or car park, they are not there to talk politics. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
Barometer.
Yeah, totally. I also liked holding a microphone, and then for the rest of the afternoon I couldn't just have a regular conversation without holding it in front of my face.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I appreciate that feedback, thank you.
Well, I missed you all day. I was in the office.
I know. When I came home, I gave you a deep cuddle, and
I loved it.
Opened my laptop, closed it back down, and here we are.
And now we're going to go dance or do something.
I'm going to write an EDM. So, what do we do this weekend?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. There's something on. What is it? No? There's nothing on.
I'm delivering leaflets to 25,000 houses on foot.
I look forward to hearing how many of those you actually achieve.
I'm going to bring 3 pairs of sneakers, so as they wear through, I can swap them over.
On Saturday,
Can I just say something about leaflets?
Yes. Yeah.
When I was at the debate the other night, a man came up to me at the end and said, I got one of your leaflets for the state election, and I read it and I wanted to vote for you, but I'd already voted early. So we want to get all of our 67,000 leaflets out by Monday, Easter Monday. So this weekend is a huge, huge blitz. So if you were able to help us deliver,
Please
I don't know, call me, I don't know.
Or if you could get me a voucher for a sneaker shop to buy new shoes after the weekend.
Yeah.
Also
if you
appreciated.
own Nike, call us.
For many reasons. Yes. What else? So
But it's
Saturday.
interesting, yeah.
Back
Sorry.
to what we're doing.
Junk mail
Saturday. We're going to go to the Easter fair at Auburn Grove. We don't have a stall, but we're going to be there.
That is
so
the
come
twilight.
say hello
It's like
if you
3
like.
p.m.
3
till
till
7 p.m. That's a nice time.
Sunday
for
morning,
me.
Kate is being the Easter Bunny at the Fremantle Farmers Market. Not actually. Someone else will technically be wearing the Bilby costume, but you will be there handing out chocolate Easter eggs. And then we're going to go and see another Easter event in Coogee. And then Monday, we're going for a long walk around Bibra Lake. It's all about happy, smiling people in Kate Hulett t-shirts. Come join us. Come on, come all. More the merrier.
It's kind of a walk off the eggs of the day before situation.
And hot cross buns, which is the key contributor.
It's going to be 27 degrees on Monday.
It's going to be beautiful.
That's swim and walk weather.
It's a perfect day for a democracy walk. So
and
come
then,
join us.
Wait, we record a podcast on Sunday and then one on Monday. Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Cool. So you can go on our website and see some of those things. And you can also donate there, subscribe. You can volunteer, sign up to volunteer. Pre-poll opens on Tuesday. We've got a few shifts to fill. Not many left at pre-poll, but we also do have a lot of shifts to fill on election day. And we would really encourage you, if you can only give one thing to this campaign, it would be a shift on volunteer day. I mean, it kind of is volunteer day, but it's also election day. We would really appreciate some sign-ups for that as well. And wherever you're listening, you can like and subscribe to A Piece of Kate.
Thank you for listening, coming along with us. It's Friday, Good Friday. It is a Good Friday.
It is. And have a great weekend, because we've got a few days off the pod. We'll be back on Monday, for you.
This was authorised by Kate Hulett, 106 High Street, Fremantle. I don't know if that's necessary.
Bye-bye.
Bye.